Barcelona beat Rayo Vallecano 1-0, but I guess every Barca fan in the world knows that was a disaster of a game. And they were lucky, they were really lucky to get a 1-0 result through a set piece. A very not Barcelona like to get a winning goal from a set piece, or rather, the only goal that guarantees you a win through a set piece. And that also came from an unlikely person in Ronald Araujo, who is not in the best of graces for Barcelona fans. But here are a few things I think after watching the game. First of all, Hansi Flick did not want to like rotate after such a great performance in midweek against Newcastle. After beating them 7-2, he basically started almost, or rather, the same team uh, again against Rayo Vallecano, and I think those players had kind of run their course, and those players were exhausted. They had they had run out of battery, and it's pretty normal for a team that played such intensive midweek game to then come up in the next game and feel it's a game against a team that it's in the middle half of the league table. Maybe we don't need to put so much effort. Maybe we don't need to like tire ourselves out trying to overplay against a team like Rayo Vallecano. But they had to. I mean, they had to. The thing is, the second thing I noticed about the game is that Barcelona, I think their season right now has just been saved by one single decision that they made in the summer, last summer. And that decision was to bring in Joan Garcia from the rivals Espanyol. Because if Joan Garcia didn't play this game, like what everyone thought in the previous game when he got subbed off and Szczesny came on, if Szczesny had started this game today, Barca would lose like 3-1 or something. Rightly so, he was adjudged the man of the match, or rather the man of the match. I'm talking about cricket terms. MVP of the player, MVP of the game. I'm sorry, and rightly so. There were so many crucial saves that Joan Garcia made that allowed Barcelona to still have a lead, at that very narrow lead that they came so close to losing so many times. But whether you look at it from like if they didn't have Joan Garcia, first of all, yeah, it would have been a disaster. Of course, they would have definitely lost the game. At some point, I think in middle of the first half, they almost lost him again because he went down with an injury. But then he's still pushing on. I think he wants to stay up. You know, he's just been called up to the Spanish national team, so he kind of wants to stay up and not like go down and kind of like rule himself out of the Spanish national team. But it's a very if the injury is as serious as it seems, I think it's a very bad thing to keep on pushing. I think he should really take a rest. But anyways, another thing that I want to talk about is that Rayo Vallecano should not be taken lightly, because if you just look at their recent run, especially the run in the Conference League, they just qualified to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. They beat Turkish side Samsunspor 3-2 over two legs. And Samsunspor is not just a baby team or whatever. They're seventh in the Turkish Super League, right? So Rayo Vallecano, having beaten them over two legs, will always, of course, come into a game like this with confidence. If they could do it away, right? I think they scored like 3 goals away at Samsunspor. If they have that sort of like confidence riding on the back, of course, when they come to Camp Nou, of course, when they come to Barcelona, they will also feel like if we can do it against a team like Samsunspor, of course, the difference in quality is big. But in football, in moments like these, in smaller games like this, it's just the confidence that makes a difference. It doesn't matter if you are Getafe, or it doesn't matter if you're Athletic Club. It doesn't matter if you're playing against Real Madrid. All it needs is confidence and a decent enough game plan, which, to be fair to Inigo Perez, the Rayo Vallecano coach, he had a good game plan. He knew that the Barca players are going to be tired. He knew that this was the last game before the international break, so a lot of players might have already mentally clocked out. Barcelona's almost every member of the Barcelona squad is going away on international duty. Rayo Vallecano's isn't. So Barcelona could afford to like push their players a little bit more, knowing that they would get like 2 weeks of non-club play. Not everyone that goes to their national team camp ends up playing 90 minutes because it's just 2 games. So they knew that they could push through and they could kind of play through any sort of pressure or like tiredness. Same with Rayo Vallecano. I mean, they knew that they didn't have a single game to play for the next 2 weeks, right? I don't know how many of Rayo Vallecano's players are going for the international break, but it can't be too many, right? So I think in that way, both teams knew this is the last game in March. It's the last game before the break, so they could just go all out. They could just keep balling. They just keep piling pressure on the opponent, and they did really well. I think both the teams, and it shows in the result. 1-0 at the Camp Nou is never happened in 2026. Barcelona has always scored like at least 3 goals in the Camp Nou in 2026. And I mean, yeah, so the fact that they just narrowly won 1-0, right, in a game that could have gone either way had Joan Garcia didn't become, like, I don't know, the best goalkeeper in the world for just one day, or if Rayo Vallecano could have finished their chances. You also got to think about, like, Raphinha, I would like to also point out about, because this was no way one of his best games. I think he really is reeling from the effects of this midweek game against Newcastle and the game against Sevilla. He scored 5 goals in his last 2 games, and then he came out and started again against Rayo Vallecano, which I don't know if it was a player decision, whether he wants to stay fit, whether he wants to stay in the rhythm, or whether Hansi Flick just doesn't trust Marcus Rashford enough for a game like this. He still gave him like 10 minutes after like what seemed like forever. He hasn't featured for Barcelona in like so long. But it was good to see that Hansi Flick gave Marcus Rashford some minutes. But again, Raphinha, he was... I don't want to use his word for someone like that, but I think he was like terrible today. I think he was terrible. I think you should hold people accountable when they're not performing. He's been great. It was just a one-off. He will not be like this again once he comes back from the break. But I think, yeah, with that being said, I think it was overall a very lucky performance. I would never say this was a great performance for Barcelona. I will never point that out. You can look at the possession stats, you can look at the shots taken or whatever, but Rayo Vallecano, a little bit more clinicality, a little bit more luck, and Barcelona might have lost. And later the Madrid derby is happening, and if Real Madrid wins that and Barcelona had lost today, there would be just 1 point. There would be just a 1 point gap. So yeah, with that being said, I think that kind of this was hopefully a one-off game for Barcelona, where they just didn't seem to have the answers for Rayo Vallecano. It's a game that's kind of like the Newcastle game as well in the first leg at St. James Park, but to perform like that at home is unacceptable. I get it. It was a very tired team, and credits to Rayo Vallecano. You know, they kept on pushing. Rachu was fantastic, but I also think they were playing a lot for fouls, and I don't even want to talk about the refereeing, because again, the less you talk about La Liga and referees, the better it is, because sometimes you can never make sense of what they do, what's the decision making is like, and it's just the way it was today. A lot of shady calls, a lot of fouls not given, a lot of fouls given. Ball is in play, but he thinks the ball went outside. There was some controversy with whistling in the crowds, and he had to stop the game. I mean, your typical day in La Liga, right? But yeah, so that kind of sums it up. Barcelona, not a great performance. Rayo Vallecano, impressive performance. Yet the scoreline will not reflect the true result. It's not a scoreline that Barcelona will be very proud of. It's not a match day that Barcelona will look back after the season ends and think, oh my god, we should have done so much better here. It's like they got the 3 points. That's all that matters. They now have a 7-point lead over Real Madrid, and then the Madrid derby is tonight. Barca will be hoping for Atletico Madrid to beat Real Madrid. Of course, every Barca fan in the world right now is wishing that. Every Barcelona player, manager, staff, everyone at the whole club is wishing for an Atletico Madrid win today. And then they will be wishing that Atletico Madrid, when they face each other again in 2 weeks' time, when Barca and Atleti face each other for the Liga and 2 rounds of the quarterfinals of the Champions League, they will hope that Atletico Madrid don't beat them. So Barca now will depend so much on Atletico Madrid, and then they will try to like literally murder them in 2 weeks, 3 weeks time. But yeah, 3 points, that's all that matters. Great game from Rayo Vallecano's perspective, poor game from a Barcelona perspective. Interested to see what happens in the Madrid derby tonight. I will try to live stream it. If anyone's watching, if you want to join in the live stream like we did for Barca Newcastle, it would be great. Yeah, I will see you in the next one. Hasta luego.